McDonald's is the undisputed leader in the fast food industry. It has been around now for almost 60 years, and really the market has almost taken it for granted that McDonald's is the fast food giant. But how did it get there? What is the history? What are the structures? What are the strategies that have helped McDonald's assume such a legendary leadership position? That is what the focus of this presentation is. Looking at both the internal and external landscape and thinking about how McDonald's can continue to retain that leadership position and the status as the casual dining fast food leader. So before we get into that, let's look at some key statistics that demonstrate McDonald's undisputed leadership position, formidable power, and really unmatched power in the fast food industry. It was actually founded by Dick and Mac McDonald in 1940 in San Bernardino, California, 50 miles east of LA. It was purchased by Ray Kroc later on, who was actually a traveling milkshake salesman at the time, who flew out there to look at the McDonald brothers operations. He was quite impressed in doing deals with them and wanted to get some more insight on what they were doing. And after he flew out there, he saw how promising the restaurant was and actually opened a franchise in Des Plaines, Illinois, right outside of Chicago back in 1955. Within 3 years, the company had 100 franchises, and now, fast forward about 55 years later, it is now over nearly 35,000 locations strong. In 2012 alone, it generated nearly $28 billion in sales. It has posted an average growth in revenue of 7% from 2010 to 2012. And as can be seen and as we know, it is among the world's most recognizable brands. So the rest of this presentation will show us why and how it can maintain that position. Now we'll take a look at McDonald's mission and values. Its mission is to be our customers' favorite place and way to eat and drink. So it wants to establish itself as both the top food provider and also a community venue, which is very helpful in building the brand. It is also driven by core competence, which is really providing flavorful, convenient food with industry-leading proficiency. So flavor and service are among the most reliable features of McDonald's as a brand and as a restaurant. And also, the company wants each customer experience, wants really the company to be typified by quality, service, cleanliness, and value, which it defines with the acronym QSC and V. There is also a strong commitment to ethics, which includes sustainable sourcing, which involves the raising of the animals that are used in products, a reliance more on locally sourced goods, as well as sustainable farming, and a commitment to community through the Ronald McDonald House, which has for decades been helping needy children and their families in the United States and overseas, and also striving to leverage the commitment to quality towards adding healthier offerings. So with salads, wraps, fruit, and maybe in the near future with organic offerings too, to attract new customers and also to rebuild the brand, shifting it from being seen as a purveyor of obesity and this kind of obesogenic, if you will, culture to a provider, standard bearer for healthier eating. McDonald's commitment to quality can also be seen in its codes of conduct. Actually, the company has a code of conduct for each country in which it has operations. Again, over 100, nearly 120 now. This is the code of conduct for American operations. And a lot of these concepts, tenets are actually quite universal. They include: we place the customer experience at the core of all we do. We are committed to our people. We believe in the McDonald's system. We operate our business ethically. We give back to our communities. We grow our business profitably, and we strive continually to improve. These are the concepts that guide McDonald's drive toward continuous improvement, meeting customer needs, and of course, being the leader in the industry. Of course, McDonald's would not be the fast food giant without a strong leadership base. So this is a quick overview of those who are leading McDonald's. The president and CEO is Don Thompson, who spent over a decade in operations honing McDonald's key strategies, including the Plan to Win strategy, which it is applying now. That is focused on building domestic as well as overseas operations through customizing offerings and increasing operational efficiencies. The COO, Chief Operating Officer, is Tim Fenton, who actually worked hand in hand with Don Thompson on creating much of the Plan to Win strategy. The Executive Vice President for Worldwide Supply Chain Infrastructure Development and Franchising is Jose Armario. The Executive Vice President, CFO, Chief Financial Officer is Peter J. Benson, and the Executive Vice President, Chief Brand Officer is Steve Easterbrook. In addition, there are a number of others who are part of the senior management executive team, a very strong board that has been extremely active in formulating the Plan to Win strategy and also in bringing McDonald's back to focusing on operations, forgetting about acquisitions, forgetting about diversification, and focusing on building its core business, fast food business within its restaurants, within its franchises, and improving strategic advantages through building those core competencies, and also with the management training program that has been ensuring that there is depth to the management team, to the leadership team, and that it has fresh, sharp minds for navigating it through the increasingly competitive, complex, and fluid fast food industry environment. A firm structure and firm decision-making infrastructure has also helped McDonald's retain the leadership position in the fast food industry. First of all, it's geographically organized. The regions are North America, Europe and Asia, Latin America, and APMEA, which represent the Asian, Pacific Island, Middle Eastern, and African regions. The franchise operations have also helped to contribute to McDonald's strength. The franchise framework allows scalability, namely that expansions can occur and can occur quickly, but with standards being intact and standards and quality being maintained. In addition, there is a specific process for enabling operational changes and strategy. Actually, a lot of ideas have originated in the middle management, even employee level, especially in terms of product offerings. But for these changes to be implemented, they must be referred to a regional director, and if the regional director deems them promising, they will be referred to senior management. There are still decisions that only the board has the right to make or has the right to authorize. And these can cover compensation, acquisitions, financial reporting, and especially certain investment projects to ensure that McDonald's stays on the path to fulfilling strategies. However, this strong centralization may have undermined the firm's nimbleness and ability to effectively respond to market dynamics and market changes, especially moves by competitors and competitors' rising strength. So now the organization is considering decentralizing certain aspects, namely granting franchisees, mill managers, some more latitude. New product ideas, for instance, can be quicker to market, or production changes that should lead towards greater efficiencies can be implemented quicker. Basically, for the company to have the nimbleness and the flexibility to maximize sales opportunities, revenue opportunities quickly, and to take advantage of opportunities for reducing costs. So now with some background on leadership structures, it's a good opportunity to see how these structures and foundations have informed strategy. Perhaps the primary aspect of McDonald's strategy is this: to quickly deliver flavorful, convenient food and enjoyable casual dining experiences to all ages. So from young children to mature older adults. Market saturation through penetration is also a key part of the firm's strategy. That is, use value price options to attract a high volume of patrons and use this patronage, this wide, large customer base to increase market share and establish more locations. And with this growth and with this market presence, McDonald's has developed focused, robust economies of scale that promote operational efficiencies, productivity, and streamlined operations. So again, there's scalability in these expansions. They're expanding, but still ensuring that standards, quality controls, that really uniformity of operations, by and large, is intact. And the Think Global, Act Local approach has really helped to enhance the brand. So even though franchisees across the world must adhere to specific quality performance standards, there is flexibility in ensuring that they are meeting needs of the environment. For instance, in India, beef is not included in options because cows are deemed sacred in the Hindu religion. Similarly, in Asia, there has been a push towards integrating more rice-based menu options and meals to be more responsive to culture. So McDonald's is really trying to seem like an extension of home as a part of the culture rather than this vague, perhaps even imperialistic American company. There's really been a focus on really embracing the culture and ensuring that through being responsive, the market embraces it. And there has been a shift from quickness to quality. Before it was all about convenience and ensuring quick service. Now it's about standing as a provider of quality, nutritious options along with being a provider of convenience. So again, this is seen in the expansion of healthier menu options and more wholesome offerings. McDonald's hopes that these strategies will continue to guide it to success. A company can't be successful unless it identifies and understands its target markets and effectively markets to them. So here's a quick overview of McDonald's target markets and also marketing tools it uses to reach them. One of the target markets is young families. So parents, caregivers in their late 20s to early 40s who have children, very young children, so toddlers, all the way to right before preteen, so about 8 or 9, who are looking for affordable and convenient places to go. So to get a quick bite after school or for a short outing during the weekend. Preteens who are just kind of flexing their social muscles, becoming socially independent, and are looking for a convenient, cheap place to hang out with their friends. And teenagers and young adults who, with this still challenged economy, are still looking for affordable economic options. For, leisure, recreation. So McDonald's also satisfies that need. So how does McDonald's actually try to reach these target markets? So with its product, it has over 100 fast food items, as we know, going with traditional fast food offerings to healthier ones, such as we said, salads, wraps, oatmeal, even now with smoothies. All of these are really designed to attract a pretty wide range of customers. Also, with the price, very economical, ranging from $1 to $6.39, and actually most of the offerings are between $1 and $4, about 60% or nearly 65%. And with the place, as mentioned, McDonald's is all over. There are nearly 35,000 locations, and what is special about these locations is they're all family friendly. So it's appropriate for a busy commuter who's just trying to pick up some coffee before the beginning of the day or after getting out of work, or again for small families who are just looking for a quick place to spend a little quality time. It's really appropriate for everybody. And in terms of promotion, McDonald's is pretty traditional, even though they've tried their hand at viral marketing here and there. It really stays to commercials, coupons, billboards, and advertisements to really get the word out about services. So these are just some ways that McDonald's And now it's time to get an internal look at McDonald's operations. One of the best ways to do that is through a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What are some strengths? There are a number of them. Strong brand name, legendary brand name, really unrivaled by any company, arguably, in history. Market capitalization now, total stock value is about $95.5 billion. International presence, 35,000 locations nearly. Localization, their strategy, as we talked about, think global, act local, allowing franchisees to meet the needs and preferences of the local market. The preservation of inventory, with allowing food inventory to last for a good long time, maybe even scarily long time. But either way, allowing rises in gross margin and, of course, helping profitability. Strategic positioning, the ad campaigns appeal to targeted ones for each market. So allowing McDonald's to reach those across ages, and the value affordability
of offerings, no matter what the economic environment, can always afford a meal at McDonald's, especially with the dollar menu items. What are some weaknesses? McDonald's enduring reputation as purveyor, symbol of the obesity culture, still hasn't shaken that. Trying to do it with healthier offerings, but still working on it. Questionable product quality, it's getting better, but there's still some issues about the source of meat and what is going inside of them. The high employee turnover, with so many people leaving, especially the young people who make up most of the workforce, it's hard to really build such a commitment to operations and commitment to customers that can allow repeat business. Lack of differentiated offerings, especially for those with special dietary needs, diabetics, low sugar, those with heart issues, low fat, those who are sufferers of celiac disease who need gluten-free products. This is really not met by McDonald's current offerings. But there are opportunities of which they can take advantage. As mentioned, public's move toward healthier lifestyles. The customers in emerging markets, but really making sure that these offerings are tailored to their preferences and also take into account cultural mores, cultural norms, religious dogma, religious tenet, to really ensure that the response to these products, to McDonald's at large, is maximized. Also, corporate services. How about having a spin-off with brands with premium offerings to be able to position itself towards the lucrative corporate crowd? Expanded product tie-ins away from just the toys. Disney movies. How about Justin Bieber doing single for McDonald's, or doing a product tie-in ad tie-ins with video games, or allowing the McDonald's website to be ground zero for new releases for hot artists, like for Beyonce to show her newest video there on the website, or for new trailers for summer blockbusters. Things like this can really help to increase the relevance of the McDonald's brand. And also social media discounts and promotions through Facebook and Twitter, but for those who spend a significant amount, making sure those promotions are earned, so to speak. So for purchases maybe over $30 or $35, to really make sure that you're rewarding those most loyal customers. But there are some threats. The rising strength of competitors, talking about Subway, Chipotle, those who are offering especially more wholesome fare. The thin margins on international locations, especially APM, EA regions, and not really being able to customize operations, streamline operations there. Cannibalization, about having so many McDonald's in one area and really undermining each other's sales. And of course, maturation, which comes with a slow growth, and also the kind of rigidity, the kind of monolithic kind of practices that come with that, and not really being able to effectively respond to the market. So these are the conditions McDonald's must keep in mind in crafting strategy and crafting a path towards sustained growth and advantage.
A resource-based view also helps to grant further insight into operations and the strength of a brand or a firm. According to a resource-based view, a firm should have valuable, rare, inimitable, and non-substitutable attributes to really be able to command a significant market position. So a valuable resource is one that enables a firm to employ a value-creating strategy. One could argue McDonald's advanced preservation process, which we just mentioned, allows food inventory to last for a long time, can reduce cost of goods sold, which helps profitability. Also, for a resource to be rare, it needs to confer power and contribute to sustainable advantage. So we can see the saturation of the market in a number of locations, which is unmatched. Well, actually, no. Actually, now Subway actually has more locations than McDonald's does. worldwide, but again, it's rare. That's the only other firm that competes with it, but every other firm is not even close. So it definitely is rare. That kind of saturation and coverage helps to build McDonald's strategic advantage. And for a resource to build strategic advantage strongly, it should be controlled by only one firm and be inimitable, cannot be imitated. And really the McDonald's brand and what that stands for, by the time you're two, I think, my working theory, that you know three things: Christmas, Halloween, and McDonald's. I don't know any other product that can really lay claim to that kind of familiarity, both with young and old. So the brand being known for quality and for taste, of course, and reliability. When you go in there and a Big Mac is going to taste the same every time. The fries are going to be great each time. No brand really has that. And non-substitutable, it's hard to really argue that anything really is, but I think a lot of McDonald's patrons would say that the flavor of the offerings, just, as mentioned, some people say that, there's just no comparing to McDonald's fries, or with a Big Mac, or, with the burgers, and even some of the other offerings too, even with the wraps and with the salads, very popular now. So people feel that really that McDonald's flavor is something that's unmatched, and that's really non-substitutable. And that's why through the years, even with competitors coming up, it still retains that leadership position. People feel that it just really can't be matched. And these valuable, rare, inimitable, non-substitutable resources have helped strengthen McDonald's financial performance and helped to build McDonald's dominance. However, there are some areas where the company should improve to ensure that it keeps that dominance and leadership position. I'll start with some good things. Quick overview. It generated revenues of, as mentioned, nearly $28 billion back in 2012. This is impressive, but these sales were actually modest in growth relative to 2011. It only marked a rise of slightly over 2% from 2011 to 2012. So McDonald's is a mature company. There really isn't so much room to grow when you have nearly 35,000 locations and you're in over 100 countries and you're generating 28 billion per year. So McDonald's really needs to focus on both increasing those customer segments and also managing the growth in operating costs, especially, which really might be easier than bringing on new customers to maintain profitability goals or to meet profitability goals. And the increase in sales was actually surpassed by the increase in costs, namely cost of revenue, which was about 3%. If this is sustained, this will lead to losses. It will cripple profitability. Because of the increases in operating costs, net income actually fell from $5.5 billion in 2011 to $5.47 billion in 2012. So it's very evident that McDonald's needs to control those increasing costs to ensure that it meets profitability goals. And if we look at the ratios, that also offers some more perspective on how McDonald's is doing, especially relative to the industry. So we can see that in terms of profit margin, inventory, turnover, basically how quickly the company is able to sell its inventory, and return on equity, it's actually outpacing the industry handily. With current ratio, it just edges out the industry. So having $1.44 roughly for every dollar in current liabilities versus the industry's $1.39 in current assets for every dollar in current liabilities. In terms of quick ratio, though, which is more of a more robust measure of liquidity, it's actually behind the industry. It's at 109 versus the industry's 126. So McDonald's has roughly $1.09 for the most liquid of current assets for every dollar in current liabilities versus the industry's, which is about $1.26, and the most liquid current assets for every dollar in current liabilities. And with the cash ratio, which is another proxy for liquidity and solvency as well. It's 0.69 for McDonald's versus $1.10 for the industry, but for interest coverage, it handily beats the industry. It's at 1664 versus the industry's 617. Interest coverage shows how much operating income it has to cover interest expenses. So for McDonald's, it has $16.64 in operating income for every dollar in interest expense versus the industry average, which is $6.17 in operating income for every dollar in interest expense. So what the company needs to focus on from looking at these measures is really better working capital management, especially with current assets, with inventory management. So maybe implementation of stronger inventory management methods, such as with JIT or RFID platforms, tools that would allow it to really ensure that it matches inventory levels to demands. And also in ensuring that the company's projects really boost sales, really actually drive sales, and make sure that they get an adequate return. So we'll keep these in mind with the recommendations. So how has McDonald's been performing now that we've looked at financial performance in terms of strategies? And key strategies have been raising global sales, delivering value to customers, and employing technology to better meet customers' needs. In terms of raising global sales, has been mixed. Sales in the UK and Russia are up about 3%, but negligible growth in the Middle East and Africa, and also even with American sales, North American sales, really, but especially the United States. Sales have been sluggish here, but with the U.S. sales maybe only up less than 2%. So sales have really been slowing down across the board. Delivering value to customers, this has been strong. They have new value priced offerings such as the Egg White Delight and the Bacon Habanero Ranch Quarter Pounder that have been popular, but because these are value priced items, these might be sacrificing margins. For second quarter earnings, McDonald's made $7.08 billion, but the market thought that it would generate $7.1 billion. So this was a disappointment, brought down the stock price. So there's a concern that it's not as profitable as it should be because of this reliance on value priced offerings. And in terms of employing technology to better meet customers' needs, it's actually done very well on that. Use of mobile platforms have been credited with increasing the sales for them. Make a Wrap and some other products, and a global POS point of sale rollout is expected that should decrease delivery time significantly, which should help McDonald's better fulfill that core competence, build that core competence of quickly serving flavorful, tasteful meals, and which should also build competitive advantage.
Now it's time to look at the external landscape and how the competitive environment can impact McDonald's prospects. One of the most common and effective tools for this is Porter's Five Forces, which looks at the barriers to entry, bargaining power suppliers, bargaining power consumers, threat of substitutes, and rivalry between firms. So in terms of barriers to entry, okay, how easy is it for competitors to come in, for new companies to come into the industry? Actually, the barriers to entry are pretty high, so this helps McDonald's. You have high startup costs for setting up a fast food franchise, to set up, even really just to set up a restaurant. So with a restaurant, you're talking about 50,000 up to maybe 80,000, but especially with a franchise, that's more like 100,000 to 250,000. Plus, you have to compete with the economies of scale that McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, other providers have, and this is very hard to do, especially with a struggling economy, to have the kind of financing that's needed to do that. Bargaining power suppliers actually is pretty low. There are only a few firms mentioned, three of them: McDonald's, Burger King. You know, put in Subway there too. You could put in Wendy's as well, that really buy most of the inventory. So, you know, they really have the power. These suppliers, if McDonald's doesn't buy from them, if Burger King doesn't buy, if Wendy's, if Subway doesn't buy, they don't have business. So they are willing to bend, accommodate these firms. The bargaining power of consumers, on the other hand, though, is quite high. With how tough the economy is, these providers are being forced to compete a lot on price. Yeah, you know, there are some people who are hardcore Burger King fans or really like more of the quality kind of offerings from Wendy's. Of course, the healthier options you can get from Subway, but let's face it, a lot of people, they don't really have that luxury. It's just about what can I afford with the extra $5 I have, or the extra $3, you know, for those who are really struggling, who really have that. Yeah, so they're going to go to the place that offers them the cheapest food, and with a lot of offerings, that is McDonald's. So in terms of bargaining power, consumers, pretty high. They really force those companies to have to lower their prices. The threat of substitutes, pretty high too. As mentioned, there are a good number of providers out there, and actually a good number of providers who are offering healthier stuff, better quality stuff. If you want that, if you want fast food, but you also don't want to, you know, devastate your diet, or if you have health issues, you really have to make sure you watch what goes into your body. There are a lot of providers that will allow customers to meet those kind of needs. So the threat of substitutes is high, which does pose some threats to McDonald's. And the rivalry between firms, because of how tough the economy still is, because of the plethora, if you will, of providers, and with providers offering, you know, some overlap between products, there's a lot of rivalry. So that's pretty high. And again, that also helps the customer and makes it harder for fast food providers like McDonald's. So it is an environment that offers some challenges, but also some opportunities. And McDonald's should leverage these, especially those opportunities, such as the barriers to entry and the low bargaining power suppliers, to build its advantage. A strategic group analysis especially is helpful in gaining an understanding of the competitive landscape. McDonald's and 4 of its largest competitors have been charted in terms of growth rate and market share. Here, its 4 competitors include Subway, represented by the S, Wendy's, represented by the W, Burger King, represented by the BK, and Taco Bell, represented by the TB. So starting with Subway, which is now its largest competitor,
is doing quite well in terms of growth. Actually grew about 7% from 2011 to 2012, markedly higher than the 2%, as was discussed for McDonald's, and this is allowed to capture about 17% of the market share in the fast food market. The next most powerful competitor is Wendy's, not by much, but Wendy's is now the number 3 fast food franchise. In terms of growth, it is not very strong, about 3%, but again, higher than McDonald's, 2% from 2011 to 2012. That allowed it to attain a market share of 12.5%. Burger King is very close behind. Its market share is 12.3% now, and actually experienced modestly or marginally higher growth than Wendy's at 3.3%. But again, these are both growing faster than McDonald's. But the issue is McDonald's is so dominant and has so much of a market share that these are not the kind of numbers that would allow these providers, Wendy's, Burger King, even Subway, to overtake it anytime soon. Then you have Taco Bell, which actually has the strongest growth rate, as can be seen from its position furthest to the right out of all of these providers. Its growth rate was actually about 13% from 2011 to 2012, but it still has very low market share relative to these providers at about 4%. So even with a 13% growth rate, which cannot be sustained through the long term, it won't be able to match McDonald's and may not even catch up to some of the competitors here. So even though competitors are definitely rising, McDonald's still has a pretty firm grip on the market and will continue to for some years to come. A competitive strength assessment grants further insight into the environment. Here, the attributes on which McDonald's and its competitors were rated included value, which was given a weight of 0.45, range of offerings, which is given a weight of 0.08, food quality, which is given a weight of 0.05, locations and convenience, which was given a weight of 0.38, and healthy options, which was given a weight of 0.04. These weights are meant to correspond with the importance for the average consumer. McDonald's led the way handily with an overall rating of 9.39. What allowed to reach this, a 10 for value, doesn't get cheaper than McDonald's, and also a 10 for locations and convenience. You can get a McDonald's almost every block, right? But what brought it down? The food quality. There's still a perception, even though it's going away, but it's a perception that not all of the ingredients are real, not all of the ingredients are fresh. So that's something that has to be overcome and ensured that it has been redressed to increase its rating on that metric. And also with the healthy options, even though they do have the wraps now, they do have the salads, still not too much you can get if you really want something healthy. Also, they don't have any organic offerings, which, especially with Starbucks and Chipotle, do. So that's an area in which they can expand. The next strongest company, according to the assessment, was Burger King with 7.77. What allowed to get there? The value. It's cheap. Very competitive with McDonald's.
but with everything else was either average or just slightly above average. Healthy option, just like McDonald's. You don't really go there for that. You don't really have too many of those. So in terms of, meeting those with strict dietary needs or looking for organic options, they could expand in those areas to meet the needs of customer segments. Also, with food quality too, again, has been an issue. I mean, is it authentic? What they really put in there? Is it really fresh? Those things, and trying to dispel that, and really making sure that operations do address those concerns would be helpful in boosting up its rating. The next one is Wendy's, which has just tipped, as we talked about, just surpassed Burger King as the number 3 fast food provider. Would help to get their value. Not as cheap as McDonald's and Burger King, but still very competitive. But for everything else, just slightly above average. Healthy options, even though they are better, so it got a 6 and not the 5 that the competitors received. It's still not exactly your go-to place for healthy options, so that's an area they can work on, just like McDonald's can. And in terms of food quality, not as questionable, actually a little bit better than some of the other providers, especially they've always promoted their white meat, but still, with fast food, there's still a concern that not everything is authentic, not everything is really fresh and ideal for consumption. It also doesn't have as many locations as Burger King and McDonald's and Subway do. And the last one, according to the assessment, or the one with the weakest or least strength, is Taco Bell, which posted 7.17. What were some strong areas? Value. It's very cheap. You have a lot of $1 offerings, but in terms of food quality, a lot of issues surrounding that. What kind of meat, from which animals the meat from? At Taco Bell, a lot of issues in the press about that. And in terms of locations and convenience, not as many locations as the competitors, and also with the range of offerings, pretty limited. With tacos, and there are some burritos, but it's pretty limited versus the over 100 menu options you get at McDonald's and plentiful menu options you get at the other providers. So looking at this, McDonald's still has pretty good grasp of the market, but again, should work on increasing the food quality, the perception of that, and increasing healthier options to maintain that dominance. Now that we have some more insight into the competitive environment, let's see some of the strategic objectives, prospects that McDonald's has set up. Here we're looking at strategic objectives at the corporate level and also objectives for the U.S. We'll go through all of them, but the main ones for corporate strategic objectives include expanding options of affordable value to customers, making things cheap, making things affordable, especially with a pressured economy, improving economies of scale, which will improve operational efficiencies and productivity. Also re-imaging the restaurant layout to attract new customer segments, just making it look better, making it look a little more classy. So those customers who may be into more health conscious options, a lot of times are higher income, will want to come in. Objectives for the United States, these include increasing sales of beverages, breakfast items, and the classic favorites that people go to fast food restaurants, especially McDonald's, for. Improve the customer value. So that means, again, competing on price, which sacrifices margins, but you have to do with this kind of environment. So making sure that comparable products meet competitors' rates, and also to enhance the customer experience. So it's not just about getting your order really quickly, but trying to build a relationship with the customer, rapport, which can promote repeat business and strengthen
loyalty. The next slides will look at the objectives for the European and Russian area, and also for the objectives for the Asia Pacific region. Now that we have some more insight into the competitive environment, let's see some of the strategic objectives, prospects that McDonald's has set up. Here we're looking at strategic objectives at the corporate level and also objectives for the U.S. We'll go through all of them, but the main ones for corporate strategic objectives include expanding options of affordable value to customers, making things cheap, making things affordable, especially with a pressured economy, improving economies of scale, which will improve operational efficiencies and productivity, also re-imaging the restaurant layout to attract new customer segments, just making it look better, making it look a little more classy. So those customers who may be into more health conscious options, a lot of times are higher income, will want to come in. Objectives for the United States, these include increasing sales of beverages, breakfast items, and the classic favorites that people go to fast food restaurants, especially McDonald's, for. Improve the customer value. So that means, again, competing on price, which sacrifices margins, but you have to do with this kind of environment. So making sure that comparable products meet competitors' rates, and also to enhance the customer experience. So it's not just about getting your order really quickly, but trying to build a relationship with the customer, a rapport, which can promote repeat business and strengthen loyalty. The next slides will look at the objectives for the European and Russian area, and also for the objectives for the Asia Pacific region. And here are departmental objectives that are supporting the regional objectives and the corporate strategic objectives. So for marketing, two of the prime objectives include increasing sales on healthier menu options like the salads and wraps and any other additions by 8% by the end of 2013, boosting millennial and Gen X revenue by 6.5% by spring 2014. Very important to get consumers early on in life so they have decades in front of them to keep patronizing your business. So getting millennials and Gen Xers, especially the trailing Gen Xers, will really help to sustain McDonald's growth. What are some departmental objectives for finance and accounting? Those include increasing EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization by 3.5% in 2013 through the use of greener technologies, reducing utility costs, raising return on assets, net income, divided by assets by 12% through expanded RFID inventory management systems by 2014 to really make sure that inventory levels are matched to demand. Departmental objectives, human resources, increase hires with STEM degrees, science, technology, engineering, and math by 15% in 2013 to really help to build infrastructure growth and enhance infrastructure dynamics towards cost reductions, and increase the international representation in senior management by 11% in 2013. Looks like you really need a more cosmopolitan outlook at the executive level, senior management level, to really streamline, optimize operations in overseas markets, overseas locations. So having that kind of international focus, more of an international presence, should help out with that. So again, these are departmental objectives that are supporting McDonald's overall goals for growth. And now that the competitive landscape as well as the internal landscape has been surveyed, it's time to look at some profitable growth opportunities of which McDonald's should take advantage to ensure its leadership position.
As mentioned now numerous times, a shift toward healthier lifestyles. People want to live healthier, so they need to eat healthier. McDonald's needs to take advantage of that demand and provide menu options accordingly. The growing popularity of ethnic cuisine. Yes, there is a pretty good representation for Latin cuisine in the menu, but how about some Asian offerings? With soups, noodles, even kind of like a spring roll, kind of egg roll kind of offering could also be a good fit. Something that's still fast food friendly, so to speak, but at the same time, is responsive to an increasingly diverse market. And I think that would be a popular addition. Also, with customers in emerging markets, we've talked about this, and they're doing that with their expansions. But again, tailoring those options, making sure it's really according with their preferences, what they want to eat, features of their staple foods, and also, of course, with cultural norms that the offerings correspond with those. Again, the corporate services and events. This could really be an opportunity to attain higher margins and offering premium sandwiches and premium even pastries, entrees, things like that, that will burnish the McDonald's brand and also open up some new segments and lucrative segments as well. As mentioned, there's expanded product tie-ins, so with other media, so outside of the film and that genre, with the kids' films, with music, video games, other types of movies, that could really be a good way to expand McDonald's relevance to other age groups. And again, the targeted discounts and promotions, making these value-added discounts, adding something there. So along with getting some percentage off, with, a smoothie, but also, hey, throwing in maybe some tickets to a theme park or discount tickets to the movies. But this is for rewarding good customers, quote unquote, those who spend a good amount. So maybe you put in some value offerings, some, discounted theme park tickets, a gift certificate, things like that for someone who buys over $40. So making sure you reward those who have rewarded the store and give an incentive for their repeat business. These are growth opportunities to keep in mind when crafting and implementing strategies, which we will talk about in the next slide. And now that we have looked at different structures, leadership structure, operational structure, decision-making structure, along with challenges and threats that McDonald's needs to navigate and opportunities of which they can take advantage, here are some recommendations for increasing McDonald's strategic advantage and ensuring its growth. First is providing more wholesome offerings alongside favorites. So expanding, salads and wraps and healthier fare, but also including a la carte options. So whole wheat buns instead of the regular flour bun, or having a vinaigrette instead of mayonnaise. Things like this that could actually be priced at premium rates. So above $2 per feature, per option, depending on what the offering is, to not only attract new customer segments, but also to increase margins. Also, the company can decentralize toward innovation. How about giving franchisees and middle managers more latitude in decision making, especially when it comes to products? So products can be quicker to market, and they don't have to be bogged down in bureaucracies that not only stifle innovation, but also can undermine profits in terms of not ensuring that good ideas go to market. And also deleveraging, so relying less on debt financing and investment in value adding projects that will attract investors and attract equity financing. Liabilities have begun to tick up
for McDonald's. And in terms of interest, costs can undermine profitability significantly, especially now where they have struggling overseas operations. So in relying on equity financing, not only can the company lower costs, it actually puts some demands on the company too, some accountability on the company to really make sure that they are pursuing projects that really help to build strategy. Also, there should be strict guidelines for expansion. So the company doesn't have to worry about cannibalization, especially with having so many McDonald's in a certain area, which can actually undermine sales. But ensuring that with guidelines for distance, perhaps one McDonald's for every 2 miles, and for earnings, let's say at least 70,000 for the first year, that all locations actually contribute to growth rather than detract or undermine it. Also, to maximize the returns from overseas expansions, McDonald's should increase its involvement in joint ventures or acquisitions so they can really have a team that understands the local dynamics, understands the ground, understands the market in which they're entering, so that operations and offerings can be tailored to these regions and really can meet customers' needs to maximize revenues, and also to increase advancement opportunities and educational support. So maybe streamlining the management training program, especially for those who are especially promising employees who have shown a lot of talent, to ensure that they are in management programs quickly and can start helping to contribute to effective strategies, and also supporting those who are promising through school. And not just those who are going towards traditional business degrees like marketing or finance, but those who are pursuing STEM areas. So it's science, technology, engineering, to help them, especially with supply chain dynamics, supply chain infrastructure, and to help to build those technological areas that can really build strategic advantage. So these are some of the recommendations based on the analysis that McDonald's can follow to ensure its leadership position through the future. I hope that this presentation has granted some insight into what makes McDonald's such a successful company and what it needs to do to continue in its position as fast food leader. Thank you for your attention, and thanks for listening. And now that the competitive landscape as well as the internal landscape has been surveyed, it's time to look at some profitable growth opportunities of which McDonald's should take advantage to ensure its leadership position. As mentioned now numerous times, a shift toward healthier lifestyles. People want to live healthier, so they need to eat healthier. McDonald's needs to take advantage of that demand and provide menu options accordingly. The growing popularity of ethnic cuisine. Yes, there is a pretty good representation for Latin cuisine in the menu, but how about some Asian offerings? You know, with soups, noodles, even kind of like a spring roll, kind of egg roll kind of offering could also be a good fit. Something that's still fast food friendly, so to speak, but at the same time, you know, is responsive to an increasingly diverse market. And I think that would be a popular addition. Also, with customers in emerging markets, we've talked about this, and they're doing that with their expansions. But again, tailoring those options, making sure it's really according with their preferences, what they want to eat, you know, features of their staple foods, and also, of course, with cultural norms that the offerings correspond with those. Again, the corporate services and events. This could really be an opportunity to attain higher margins
and offering premium sandwiches and premium even pastries, entrees, things like that, that will burnish the McDonald's brand and also open up some new segments and lucrative segments as well. As mentioned, there's expanded product tie-ins, so with other media, so outside of the film and that genre, with the kids' films, with music, video games, other types of movies, that could really be a good way to expand McDonald's relevance to other age groups. And again, the targeted discounts and promotions, making these value-added discounts, adding something there. So along with getting some percentage off, with, a smoothie, but also, hey, throwing in maybe some tickets to a theme park or discount tickets to the movies. But this is for rewarding good customers, quote unquote, those who spend a good amount. So maybe you put in some value offerings, some, discounted theme park tickets, a gift certificate, things like that for someone who buys over $40. So making sure you reward those who have rewarded the store and give an incentive for their repeat business. These are growth opportunities to keep in mind when crafting and implementing strategies, which we will talk about in the next slide.